Hello, this is Inside the Press Box with Sunil Sunder Raj for the Everyday Fan Sports. I'm happy to be speaking with Steve Tahsler, the Deputy Commissioner of the Frontier League. Steve, thanks for taking some time out to speak with me today. I really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. It's exciting that we get to speak about baseball in 2021.
Yes, no, definitely. It said this is the first year, it said with the Frontier League and the Can-Am League merger. I wanted to ask you, it said we're just about a little over a month into the 2021 regular season. How, things have worked out so well, so far for you guys, Steve?
They've worked out very well. We're excited to have the teams out of the Northeast to join what had been our existing Midwestern base. We've added some good markets, some good operations, some strong facilities, and some well-regarded operators. The only disappointment is just strictly COVID related, in that we weren't comfortable when we announced our schedule in January that we'd be able to how travel would look if you could cross state lines, different regulations in terms of health and safety mandates. So we wound up doing a very regionalized schedule. The way it's opened up now, we probably could have played a traditional schedule with each club playing each other club. But back in January, there was so much uncertainty. Our goal was just to get the season in as safely as possible. So that's the only downside right now, is that the teams in the Northeast are not being able to play our teams from the Midwest, with a few exceptions. But the goal is next year we'll go back to the traditional schedule where every club will play every other club.
That's great. That's great to hear. I wanted to ask you, when this decision was made, about 2 years ago, I think it was, with this merger, said just how that came all about. And then plus, it was great to see at Palisades Credit Union Park with the All-Star game between, at that time, Frontier League and the Can-Am League. Can you just, just talk about just how that whole process worked out, Steve?
Sure. We had actually, been talking for about 2 years before the official announcement. The Can-Am League, specifically Greg Lockhart with the New Jersey Jackals, reached out to us and basically said, hey, we've got a lot of things in common. Maybe we should work together and have some cost efficiencies, have some standardization, with the goal of moving forward as one larger league encompassing the Northeast quadrant of the United States and Southern Canada. We attended some of their meetings, some of their board of directors meetings. Their board of directors attended our meetings. We started with the All-Star game in 2019. That was a good mix of getting everyone together, not just the owners and the board of directors, but getting the ball players together, getting the front office staffs together, just to make sure that we were working towards the same goals. We had the overall same big picture idea. Then the end of 2019, I came out with our now retired Commissioner Bill Lee, and we visited the different parks in the Can-Am League, spoke with them in more detail. And at that point, really coming out of the All-Star game, we knew that it made sense for us to work together into one larger league. And from then it was just putting the details together. Finally got it solidified, announced in October of 2019, announced our schedule, all sorts of excitement. And then COVID hit and derailed us, along with many other businesses, for 2020. So we were able to do a little bit of a relaunch this season. Like I said, the only downside is because we didn't know what the travel restrictions would be, we played it safe. Yeah. So you're not seeing the full slate of opponents as you're going to be seeing in future seasons.
I wanted to ask you with the Canadian teams, how that's going to work out next year with Quebec, Three Rivers, and then with Ottawa. Just if you can comment on that, Steve.
The way we set up the schedule when we released it, and this was before we had the ongoing Canadian border closure, when we released the schedule with the 16 teams, we did 4 divisions of 4. One division was the New York Boulders, the Tri-City Valley Cats, Quebec, and Three Rivers. Second division was the Jackals, Sussex County Miners, the Ottawa Titans, and a Washington Wild Things team. Then we had our Midwestern division, which is basically Cleveland and Chicago, Lake Erie, Windy City, Schaumburg, Joliet, and our Western division, which was a holdover of Florence, Southern Illinois, Gateway, and Evansville, all of which Florence is Cincinnati, the other 3 are close to St. Louis area. So we're going to go forward with that at the moment for next year. The same 4 divisions, same alignment, and we fully expect by this time a year from now that the border will be open, that crossings will be back to being routine as they had been in the past, and that the Ottawa Titans, Three Rivers, and the Quebec Capitals will be able to play a full schedule making trips out to St. Louis, making trips to Chicago, and at the same point, those Chicago, St. Louis, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh teams will make the trip up to Quebec City as well.
Okay, that's great. You're looking, overseeing the day-to-day operations. I think what, of 16 teams. Can you just talk about on a daily basis? And plus, you've been doing quite a bit of traveling. Of course, now here during the regular season. Can you just talk about that, Steve?
Yeah, obviously, I travel quite a bit. It's more effective for me to be on site and speaking with people in person, get to observe what's going on, get to meet some of the fan bases, meet some of the larger clients of the different clubs in each city. So my goal is to be in each ballpark at least once a month. A little more challenging now that we're more geographically spread out, but so far I'm on pace to do that. In terms of the day-to-day stuff, basically I work with the field managers, the general managers, and the umpires on whatever they need to get the game going. So on the general managers, I've worked with them in the off season on some of their sales and marketing plans. If they have staffing questions or looking to fill a position, they'll reach out to me. The field managers, it's, approving the contracts, working with them on the classifications, making sure they understand how we operate, what the different levels are. And then, the umpires, obviously, just overseeing that side of it and making sure everything flows smoothly between the three different entities.
Okay, that's great. From your perspective, Steve, just the level of competition, with the Can-Am League and the Frontier League, merger with the players, and just read, on the website now here, Jake Cousins of Schaumburg, got called up by the Milwaukee Brewers. I think the 41st player, from the Frontier League to reach the Major League Baseball level. Can you talk about, how good is that, for the league, to see, these players being called up, to Major League Baseball?
It's very exciting. And, that's one of our goals on the baseball side, especially, is to give players that opportunity that were either overlooked and never got the first chance, or that stalled out in a major league organization like Jake Cousins did, came to the Frontier League in 2019, was able to showcase himself to many other clubs. Milwaukee was excited. They took a chance on him, and he's paid off. He actually got in the game last night and threw 2 scoreless innings, struck out 5 of the 6 batters. So, that's exciting. What's also exciting is out of the 41 guys on that list, I believe 27 made their professional debut in the Frontier League. So that's just for the players coming out of smaller colleges, may have had injuries, may have been overlooked, may have not gotten as much action because they were battling with a higher profile person at their specific position, that we can give those ball players a chance to come out, showcase themselves, get professional action, get game action, see them on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to the college schedule that plays 3 to 4 days a week. We're playing 6 to 7 days a week, and give them the opportunity to demonstrate what they really can do, how they can fit in an organization and move their way up.
Yeah. I just wanted to go back. You mentioned Bill Lee. So he ran the Frontier League for 27 years now, the commissioner emeritus. Can you talk about as well, John Danos, the chief executive officer? You have Kevin Wynn, who's the deputy commissioner for strategic development, and also Deron Brown, umpire supervisor, and Steve Bennis, the digital marketing assistant. I mean, just that, just this overall operation. Can you talk about that, Steve?
Sure. On Bill's side, he's been with the league since the second year. He was instrumental in taking us from a small regional league in Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky area, and expanding it not just throughout the Midwest now, but now up into the Northeast. Bill's plan was to retire after the 2020 season for several years. That would have been 67 years old for him, 40 years in baseball. It made good sense. So that had been in the planning even before the merger talks had started, was a phase out for Bill. Thrown off a little bit because of all the COVID situations, and with the MLB contraction that came about, it was helpful to have Bill on a day-to-day basis with us because of just so many people he's met over his time in the league. When Bill retired at the end of Bill officially publicly retired at the end of February, he's still with us on a consulting type basis. He was in Washington, Pennsylvania doing the Hall of Fame. He was in Ohio when we had our tryout camp. He'll be, once we resume playoffs and all-star games, he'll be back at those functions as well. But it allows him time to spend with his grandchildren and not have to be, take advantage of his 40 years of work. And now he gets to enjoy himself a little more. John Danos came to us from the University of New Hampshire. He's got a slightly different title as CEO, and he's really focused more on the long-term projects, whether it's expansion, whether it's adding to our digital footprint, whether it's taking advantage of some of the new technology that's come about. Kevin was the executive director of the Can-Am League when they were still in existence. He came on board with us, and Kevin basically just handles different special projects. He was instrumental in the video streaming, the Vimeo package. He's got involved in some of the meetings we have, as involved in some of his contacts up in the Northeast, especially in trying to see if there's interest in markets and if there are markets that we think could be a good fit for the Frontier League and closing those out. Darren's been with us since 1995 as an umpire. He took his current role as supervisor umpires, where he schedules and monitors and grades out the different umpires. He took that role over in 2010. And then Stephen Banis is our league assistant this year. He's a recent graduate of Ohio State University. He worked in their sports information department when he was at Ohio State. He got, unfortunately for him, but fortunately for us, COVID cost his position and all the other basically entry-level positions at Ohio State to get put on hold for a year. But he does our website, he does our social media, he did a digital media guide for us. He works with really the broadcasters and public relations people of the teams to get their information, to put it in a coordinated effort, and to get it sent out throughout the league.
That's great. Yeah, no, I appreciate the info. I didn't want to leave out as well, Steve, Frontier League TV, and then also having that partnership with Major League Baseball. If you can dive into those two areas as well.
Sure. We knew we needed to get better in the streaming platform. Most of our teams had done it in the past, but it was not on one platform, different quality that you would see in different ballparks. The Frontier League TV platform we're using is called Vimeo. That was recommended to us by the American Association, who did it for their shortened 2020 season. They felt they had good results, that they could deliver us the technology capabilities that we needed and the distribution, the viewing capabilities for the fans that we needed. So we signed on for the, again, 2020, we didn't get the opportunity to utilize it. We signed on for them in 2021. It's gone over a little better than we expected. We're ahead of pace than what we thought we would be in terms of subscriptions, in terms of viewing, in terms of the feedback we're getting from the parents and the relatives and the fans throughout the Midwest and throughout all of, really, we've got subscriptions from Japan, from Ireland, from Canada, from Mexico and the Dominican Republic. So that's taken off very well. The Major League Partner League information, we've obviously worked closely with the MLB teams for many years on moving ball players back and forth. The Partner League is more of a marketing type initiative at the moment, where, and again, this is another one. We had the conversations with them in the fall of winter 2018, fall of 2019. We knew it was coming. We had several meetings with them before COVID came and shut everything down. And really some of their projects got diverted on the minor league side and on the Partner League side because they were trying to focus on working with the union and if and how and when they could play a 2020 season. Because of that, we really haven't gotten into too much detail. We do have another meeting set up for the end of this week with some of the Major League Baseball people. For 2021, it's really just a branding and a marketing concept that once we get through the 2021 season, we're going to sit down again and be able to take the time to come up in more detail, hopefully without a pandemic to distract us, on how we can tie the partner leagues in the Major League Baseball and what they now call the licensed leagues of the affiliated minor league teams all together with a goal of growing baseball in every community we can. That's
great. I had to ask you, Steve, again, in your 11th year as deputy commissioner of the Frontier League, I mean, your first year, I mean, when you look back and just see how much, this league has grown and the success that you've been able to attain, just what comes to your mind? I said from that first year, I said you were the deputy commissioner.
Sure. I started in the Frontier League in 1997, and Evansville, Indiana, where I started, is the only market we still have going back that far. We had great success starting with the St. Louis area. Then we went to Greater Pittsburgh, Greater Chicago, Greater Cleveland, Greater Cincinnati, of going into major league markets, into the suburbs where there was definitely an appetite for affordable entertainment. And there was definitely a population base and facilities with the ability to construct a facility that met our needs. Very similar to what you saw when the Boulders came in New York, and what you saw when the Jackals were one of the first independent league teams up there as well. And I did stuff part-time with the league starting in about 2002, then officially became full-time in 2009 with the league. I had been a general manager of 4 different teams. During that span, the biggest thing I've seen is It's just the improvement in the facilities and how much more the amenities, fan friendliness, easier access, facilities that are built specifically for Frontier League ballparks now, for Frontier League teams. We're not trying to repurpose a college facility or a community field as we did when it first started in the mid 1990s. We're getting markets, we're getting facilities that specifically want the Frontier League, are working with us from day one to break ground, create a facility, get the necessary amenities to make it an enjoyable place, but also have the price point where it's affordable for all segments of the population.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I wanted to ask you, going back to those days, I mean, twice you were with Evansville and then with Windy City as well. Winning, said Frontier League championships. I mean, going to the playoffs, excuse me, said winning, Frontier League Executive of the Year, 2005 and 2006. I mean, when you look back on those moments, what you were able to achieve, I mean, how satisfying were those moments, especially with those?
I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's the first thing. Winning is fun. That's kind of what I tell people. So it's more enjoyable for everybody at the ballpark if the team's winning. You got to plug through some of the days and some of the seasons when you might not have as strong of a team as you hope, but ultimately winning just makes everything more enjoyable. And, the awards, the playoff appearances, the championship, it's due to having quality people that work with you, that understand the process, understand the system, that buy into it, and are willing to work with you in delivering that message externally. That's how you get fans to the ballpark. That's how you get additional sponsorships, corporations involved with you. That's how you find the right type of coaching staff, the right type of player that can take you to the level of, like I said, winning championships, setting attendance records, getting organizational type awards. It all comes down to having the right people in the right place.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stats I was reading, Steve, are just incredible. I mean, your team's, set 11 club, I think, single season attendance records. I mean, 11 out of the 13 seasons, in the Frontier League playoffs, and then reaching 7 appearances in the championship series. That's just to have that consistency.
I mean, yes. I mean, some of it was a little bit of a luck. Some of it was, the consistency and getting a system in place, finding people that understood and agreed with the system, making tweaks when necessary, and letting the people basically giving people the opportunity to do their jobs, to come up with creative ideas, creative concepts, with the goal of improving the operation every single season. And that's kind of what it comes to. One of the first things I learned in this business is people always want to know what's new. They want to know what's new, what's different. The specifics of what's new aren't important as the fact that you're doing something new each year. You're adding to the experience for the fans, for the clients. You're adding amenities for the ball players. And it's those constant small tweaks that build up over the years that allow you to create a successful operation.
Yeah. I just have a couple more, for the time, Steve. I wanted to ask you, about two other, jobs that you held, GM of, I believe, the Dubois, County Dragons. I mean, you started that team. And then I believe back from 2006 to 2000, GM of the Slippery Rock Sliders. That was a partnership, I think, with the Frontier League. Can you talk about those two? Those were, said you had quite a bit of success there as well. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Dubois County was my first job as a general manager. I mean, it's a great ballpark. It's a great market. It's a great people in Southern Indiana. It's located just over an hour northeast of Evansville, where I had been the director of operations before that. I mean, it was a tough situation where the local ownership group was ready to shut down. They had some out-of-town investors. The Dubois County team was originally our Ohio Valley Redcoats Club in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and some of the Parkersburg people kept their investment stake when the Dubois County group bought them out and relocated them to Indiana. When the Indiana people were struggling with the operation, the Parkersburg group came in and took it over. They brought me in probably December of 2000 to try to really get an organization that's been dormant the last 90 days, get it up and operating and ready to go. We had, like I said, it all goes back to having the right people in the right place. We had great assistance. We had great help getting that up and going. Unfortunately, Dubois County is a very small market. The stadium only sat about, I think it sat 2,600 people, but with no real amenities and only about 1,500 physical seats in it. So we knew that, it was not going to be a long-term solution to us. The team made a few stops after I left them. wound up in, they're actually now the Southern Illinois Miners in a great situation. A $23 million stadium that seats 4,500, has luxury suites, video scoreboard, and all the amenities. So it's unfortunate it didn't work out in Dubois County, but realistically, we knew that was not a long-term solution for us. Southern Illinois has been a great partner for the last 15 years. The Slippery Rock team, when we added the Southern Illinois team, we needed to add another club to balance out the schedule. So the Slippery Rock team was a three-way partnership between the Frontier League and the individual teams in the Frontier League all owned a piece of Slippery Rock. And it was with Slippery Rock University as well, where we were able to integrate their students from multitude of programs, from the communications to the English program, to the sports management, to the park and rec side, to the accounting side, integrate their students into the day-to-day operations of the business and of the ball club. Same thing, that was just, we knew that was a short-term stop. I had been working part-time with the league for about 5 years when that came up. And then the league officers asked me to go out to Pennsylvania to take that club over completely. We were in a good place in Evansville where my assistant could take over the Otters club. So I went out to Pennsylvania, spent a little over a year out there, got it up, got it going. We had great response from the community, but again, it was a 1,500 seat stadium in a town of about 3,800 people, even though we drew from a wider radius. And it was on a college campus. The university was great to work with, but it still made it a little bit tougher when you're not the primary tenant. But it was still a good situation. It achieved our goal. A lot of the students who worked with us went on to getting jobs in baseball at various different levels. So that was a positive of Slippery Rock as well.
And I attended and graduated from Georgia State University. You were part, I believe, of the 1996 Summer Olympics, working the results staff of the International Baseball Federation. I had to ask you about that experience as well, Steve.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, to get that opportunity when you're first coming out of college I'm very lucky. The people who I was working with when I worked in the athletic department at Georgia State were the ones who basically vouched for me and got me into the role that I was in. I was the results staff for baseball is the technical name. I was part of the official scoring group.
Okay.
My specific role was I sat in the TV replay truck with the what they call IOB, International Olympic Broadcasting, that for the countries that don't have a national rights fee, IOB handles the television for every other country in the world that wants to televise the Olympics. I was in their truck with 6 different monitors, so I could review plays and radio up to the press box if something was missed, if there was a questionable call, hit versus error, earned run versus unearned run. I was the guy at that point. Again, we're looking 25 plus years ago. Technology is not where it is today, but I was the guy that had the radio up to the official scorers booth, plus the radio to the TV control people and the bank of monitors to watch those close plays and, if necessary, make a change.
That's great. I found it fascinating, Steve, that you, I think, majored received a B in statistics and sociology. I'm wondering, were you able to, utilize those, as far as when it comes here, to, working in baseball.
Yes, and the statistics when I graduated in that background is vastly different than what it was today. To the point that we still weren't using computers. I was one of the last groups to go through when it was all theory-based and concept-based, as opposed to the computers and the detailed statistical programs. What I got most out of Georgia State was it's a Division I program, but it's a very low-level Division I program, where even though it's got 37,000 students, it's a commuter school. So it's much different than other similar-sized programs. Very small athletics department, but I had great people there that were willing to let me come in and give me significant responsibility right away that allowed me to make the contacts, have items on my resume, and work with different groups that really just jump-started my career. Without the people at Georgia State, I never would have gotten the opportunity in the Olympics. I never would have gotten the opportunity in the Frontier League, and I wouldn't have the knowledge base that I have today.
That's great. I wanted to ask you, Steve, personally for you, what makes, the game of baseball so special, that you're a part of it, again, here in the Frontier League, you've been in it for, over 25 years. I mean, for you, what is it about the game, said you most enjoy, working in? I had to ask you that.
I've always been a baseball fan. I never had any idea that it would be realistic to make a career out of working in baseball. I took a chance when I was graduating from Georgia State I figured I would give myself a year to try to find a job in sports or in baseball specifically, in sports generally. If not, then I would go back to something more traditional with my academic background. I was lucky enough to get opportunities and just move on from there. Really, the biggest thing that's kept me in the Frontier League is the people. We've got great people. We have dedicated people, from players to managers to umpires to season ticket holders to mayors and politicians in the different communities that we have, to the the front office staff, to people who may have been an intern and may have been a 1 or 2 year employee back in the 90s that I still stay in touch with 20 plus years later as they moved on to different activities. So ultimately, being a fan is what got me interested to begin with, but the people and the process that we work with every day is what's kept me involved.
That's terrific. I don't want to forget about family as well, Steve. I said demanding job, long hours, on the road. Can you talk about the support from your family? I know you're married. Can you just talk about how much that is meant to you? Said during this journey, and said in sports.
That's honestly the hardest part of the job is how much time you spend away from your family and how many events you wind up having to miss. I've met my wife when I was in Pennsylvania, and she was a baseball fan. She's from rural Pennsylvania, Pirates fan. Her dad is a huge baseball fan, so that kind of helped as well. That she enjoyed coming to the ballparks when we first got married, first got married, and when we moved from Pennsylvania to Chicago. Her group of friends and the people she got to know came from the fans at the ballpark that she would sit and talk to during the games. I'm lucky that I'm originally from very close to where the Lake Erie Pressers play on the west side of Cleveland. So I still have a lot of family up here that, as I make my tours, I can see my cousins, my aunts, and my uncles. I've got some extended family in the Chicago area, some extended family over near Washington, Pennsylvania as well. So that's helped make it a little easier, is that time I miss away from my wife and time I miss away from being at home, I'm able to be with my relatives and be with friends and people I've met over the years. So that makes it a little bit more tolerable to have to travel so much.
That's great. And final question, Steve, is that what your message is for younger people, whether college or just it said freshly graduated from college. I mean, what your advice would be to them as far as if they want to make a career of working in sports, especially for in baseball for an organization.
Sure. Probably it's a very competitive field. A lot of people want to get involved. A lot of people want to work in sports, want to work in baseball. They may not realize what they're fully getting into at the beginning, but because it's such a competitive field, the best advice I would get is get whatever experience you can, starting when you're still in college, and work on. Don't worry about the role that you're assigned or the duties you're given if you think it's not challenging enough or not what you were looking for. Take the opportunity to get yourself and get involved, to network, to meet different people, experience different things. And once you do get an opportunity with a team, expose yourself to as many different areas of the operation as you can. That's what's going to set you apart as you go to look for your future jobs and different roles. Is the more versatile you are, the more people you've met, the more things you've done is going to put you ahead of the other people you're competing for as you look to move up.
That's outstanding. Steve, the floor is yours. If there's anything I've left out, so you're more than welcome to add. I said again, I can't thank you enough for this opportunity, to interview you.
No, I appreciate taking the time. I'm glad that I ran into you in the press box in New York a few weeks ago. Looking forward to coming back out there again in I think the third and fourth weeks of July. I'll be in the New York, New Jersey area, that whole span. We're just excited that we can play. We're excited that we're able to play baseball, that the fans are back at the ballparks, that we're rekindling the relationships. And as tough as it was last year not to have a season, once we began playing and once everything started to, people started to come back to the ballpark, we saw the same people, we saw the same faces. It seems like it just never stopped. And that's a positive thing, is that people seem really excited to come back to us. Baseball got hurt last year. It really was the first sport out when COVID came in and the gathering restrictions and everything got shut down. But now we're able to benefit by being the first sport back as the restrictions are loosening. We've had great response in our communities. We've had some great attendance figures. We're getting good comments and really exciting. People just excited that we're back, and we appreciate their patience and working with us. And we're just looking forward to a great 2021 season, and even more so looking forward to 2022 when we can go back to the full integration of the Frontier League.
It's great. Hey, Steve, thank you again. And again, wishing you continued success, again, as this season goes on, moving forward. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. And like I said, I'll be back up at Palisades Park in a few weeks and look forward to meeting in person again.
Thank you.